4 red lights where they will go out. We will be racing, which is right now, it's Christian Lundgaard, the pole sitter who leads them down into turn 1. A brilliant start by Marta Garcia and her countryman. Davide Vidales in the energy cart is now up into third. The field have gone through relatively cleanly. Felipe Drugovich and Kale Collette, the 2 Brazilians in the 2 Cosmic carts. They've muscled their way into third and fourth. Your race leader is your championship leader, Christian Lundgaard. Down into the hairpin for the first time, Kale Collette. 2-4-1 in the Cosmic cart. Tries a move on his countryman. It is Drugovich and Collette. Garcia in second spot. Well, quite remarkably, they've all got through this first lap relatively cleanly as they file down through the tightest part of the circuit. Christian Lundgaard, let's look at the lead. And furthermore, let's look back to see where Novalak and Martono are as they come across the line. It is a gap of 0.6 of a second between Lundgaard, Garcia, Drugovich, Collette, Viscal, Javier Loveres. Kushmani is now up into position 7. Where is Martono? He's moved up 1 spot. He's 13th. Novalak, he's moved up 2 spots. He's 16th. But they will not win the title from back there. Christian Lundgaard, 0.6 of a second over Marta Garcia. Remember, she's won the opening 2 rounds of the CIK-FIA Academy Trophy. She dominated both Zuera and Genk 2 weeks ago. She's been super quick here all weekend. She took 2 heat wins yesterday. She's running in second spot. Don't discount her from standing on the top of the podium this afternoon. Christian Lundgaard comes around to complete his second lap up the start-finish straight. Yes, it is in the sunshine here at Kristianstad. Who would have thought a couple of hours ago when it was bucketing down rain we would say that? Cosmic carts go through in third and fourth. Felipe Drugovich, Kale Collette. Ben Fiscal, the Dutchman, sits in fifth. A great start by Javier Loveres, the Spaniard who gets it up over 2 wheels through the chicane. Fastest lap of the race. He sits in position number 6. Aboard the Zanardi cart, Ivan Shvetsov is in 7th. Didn't take his place on the front of the grid. Struggled to form up, and the Russian sits back there 1 ahead of Kushmani. Presley Martono into 11th now. The Indonesian who dominated the last round of the series at PFI in England. There's Viscal. Drugovich looks over his shoulder only to find his countryman. There's Javier Loveres going through. Ivan Shvetsov 1 ahead of Kushmani. There's Petra Pacic. Presley Martono coming through. Presley is now in 12th, but guess who's in front of him? Clement Novalak, the Tony Kart team driver, is on the charge. He's come from grid 18 to be in 11th. He's taken 7 places in just the opening 2.5 laps. Christian Lundgaard, the lead has been cut to just over 0.3 of a second. Martono, you can see at the bottom of your screen, is now 12th behind Clement Novalak. But it matters not for them if Christian Lundgaard can maintain this lead. He will win the title. We still have a long way to go, some 17 or so laps. As they come around the final corner, you can see the flags blowing in the background. It is blowing a gale here at Kristianstad, but it is not raining. We are on the LeConte dry, slick tyres. Shvetsov looks over his shoulder, only to find the Indian Kushmani. Then it's Noah White, Clement Novalak and Martono. Petra Pacic, there it goes through, has been displaced and lost 5 positions on that very last lap. He's now behind Ulissi Dupau and Rasmus Lind, the Swede in the Ricardo kart, who took a heat win yesterday, young Rasmus. We look at a replay off the start. Indeed, Bent Vescal on the outside of the front row of the grid. You can see Shvetsov missed the start, but Christian Lundgaard took the lead into turn number 1, and that's where he's been ever since. He leads by 0.7 of a second now. He's pulled the gap out from young Marta Garcia. Drugovich starting to close in on the Spaniard. Then it's Kale Collette. Bent Viscal's driving superbly in position number 5, ahead of Javier Loveres. Noah White now up into 9th. Just behind Kushmani. There's the virtual championship. If the positions remain unchanged, you can see not only Martono and Novalak won't win it, but they won't even make the top three. Marta Garcia, second on the road, second in the championship, but Christian Lundgaard is looking good to win here today. He's driving for the Swedish Ward Racing team. In the past, they've produced such drivers as Heikki Kovalainen, Susie Stoddart, as she was then known. Almost always, as long as we can remember, they've driven green Tony karts. And their boy, Christian Lundgaard, he's driving one to great effect out front now. Felipe Drugovich, you can see the inside right rear tyre lift up nicely through that hairpin. That Cosmic is hooked up and flying. He's in position number 3. Fastest lap of the race last time round for Christian Lundgaard, a 53 dead, a 53.016. He's some 0.2 of a second faster than everybody else in the field. The gap is 1.4 seconds. Marta Garcia, she's starting to fall into the clutches of the Brazilian. Felipe Drugovich from Maringa in Brazil. Obviously speaks perfect Portuguese. His mother tongue's perfect English, perfect Italian. A very talented young driver from the country that is synonymous not only with football, but producing some brilliant racing drivers of the past. Felipe Drugovich, third. The Spaniard, Marta Garcia, is second, but under attack from the Cosmic Kart driver. Kale Colette starting to fall into the clutches of Ben Fiscal. There's Javier Oliveres behind the Russian, Ivan Shvetsov. Martono, where is the Indonesian? He's in position number 10. Clement Novalak. Well, the Brit has dropped down to 13th after being shuffled back on that lap. Clement Novalak has just been passed by the Swede in the Ricardo kart, Rasmus Lind. We spoke about Rasmus. He had a good run yesterday. Remember, there were 75 drivers starting this final round of the European Kart Racing Championships. Rasmus started 13. He's just taken the championship contender, Clement Novalak. You see Rasmus walking around the pits. You wouldn't believe he's a racing driver if you're a fan of the 80s supergroup Simply Red. Young Rasmus Lind, he's a Mick Hucknall lookalike. He sits in position number 12 aboard the Ricardo kart. One ahead of Novalak, Ulissi Dupau. Sebastian Fernandez rounds out the top 15. Drugovich over the ripple strip has now taken Garcia for second spot. As you can see, the Spaniard sits there in third. She will have to defend the other Brazilian in a few moments' time. She's in a Cosmic Kart sandwich. Drugovich from Brazil in front of her in the Cosmic. Kale Colette, also from Brazil, also in the Cosmic, immediately behind her and closing. And she's dragging the Dutchman Bent Fiscal along with her. Javier Loveres, another Spaniard, sits in sixth ahead of the Russian Ivan Shvetsov. Kushmani Presley Martono is up into ninth. That will not win the Indonesian the title. It won't even put him in the top 3. In fact, Christian Lundgaard, the lead is 2.6 seconds back to Felipe Drugovich. We are coming up to half race distance very, very shortly. There's Garcia going through on screen. Fastest lap of the race. Look at that. The championship fight is not over yet because Presley Martono, driving the baby race Tony kart, has responded. He will need Lundgaard to fall over, which is looking very, very unlikely, and he will need to pass 8 more karts to claim the title. Clement Novalak still stuck down in 13th behind Lind, one ahead of Sebastian Fernandez and Petra Pacec, who's been shuffled back after making such a great start. The end of lap number 10. Drugovich. Garcia looks over his shoulder, head down behind the steering wheel. 114 kilometres an hour for these KF Junior karts coming up into turn 1. Through the chicane, 2 wheels over the ripple strip before braking into the furthest point of the circuit. Bent Fiscal in the Perilla powered Tony kart. We almost always see Vortex power plants aboard the karts painted green. But Bent Fiscal has got an IAMI engine on that 222 green machine. The Dutchman is in 5th, just ahead of the Zanardi kart of Javier Loveres, who's starting to fall back into the clutches ever so slightly of the Russian Ivan Shvetsov. Kushmani from Bangalore in India is in 8th, and Presley Martono is lighting up the screens once again. He's just set a second fastest sector, but he's 8.4 seconds off the leader, who disappears by our screens. Christian Lundgaard is looking good for the title here this weekend. Ulissi Dupau comes into pit lane to replace that front nose cone. An F1 style pit stop for the Birrell Art driver. He's out of contention. Right in contention, nothing's changed. Look at the virtual championship. Kenny Roosens, who sensationally was excluded from starting for this final. We'll get to that in a moment. He still sits in second despite watching this race from the sidelines. Martono now in third spot in the series at least, but he is charging. Can he overtake Roosens for second spot? As we watch Drugovic down the start-finish straight into turn 1, as smooth as you'd like for the Brazilian. Over the ripple strip. There's Garcia. She's from Valencia in Spain. She is a super talent. Not only did she win the opening 2 rounds of the CIK-FIA Academy Trophy, she also stood on the podium in the WSK Supermaster Series to kick off 2015. So we watch your race leader driving faultlessly. Yeah, just getting back to Kenny Roosens, the Belgian led the series coming into Kristianstad this weekend. He was on 44 points from Novalak on 38 and 36 for both Martono and Lundgaard. Wow, hasn't that changed? After the pre-final, Kenny Roosens was deemed to have interfered with his nose cone and was excluded from starting the final. He's watching this race from pit lane. He cannot defend the lead he had. He's struggling to defend second place because Presley Martono is closing in on that points difference. Kenny Roosens, who dominated in Portimao, he took pole position on Friday night here in the sunshine in southern Sweden. He had a wretched run through the heats and he's been disqualified from starting the final. It's all happening here in Kristianstad. Felipe Drugovic, the Brazilian, is in position number 2. Still ahead of Marta Garcia. The gap between those two drivers is 0.5 of a second. Then we go back a similar distance to Caio Collet, Bent Fiscal, Javier Loveres, Shvetsov, Maney, Presley Martono. He's made up 5 positions from his starting grid of 14, but still remains in position number 9. Across the start-finish line with 7 laps remaining. There's Drugovic, getting every ounce of grip out of those LeConte tyres, the official tyre supplier for the KF Junior class for the 2015 European Championships. There's Martono, the bottom of your screen, in position 9, and look at that, position 14, the bottom right of your screen, Clement Novalak. He won the WSK Supermaster Series to kick off 2015. He was in second place coming into this championship decider, but he won't take out the European title unless he can miraculously improve 13 positions and hope Christian Lundgaard finishes this race on the side of the circuit. And I don't say that in an unsporting-like fashion, but that is how desperate the Brit Clement Novalak is to win the title. Caio Collet, the Brazilian, third in line on screen, under attack by Bent Fiscal, the Dutchman in the TKART. Remember, he's got the Perilla engine on, can't make a move that time round. There's Marta Garcia. She's from the city that hosted the Mediterranean Formula 1 Grand Prix for a few years back there. That is Valencia on the coast of Spain. Fastest lap of the race remains at 52.863. That's for Presley Martono, still stuck down in position number 9. An average speed of 83 kilometres an hour, almost 84 kilometres an hour. A top speed on the short start finish straight here at Kristianstad, just over 114 kilometres an hour. Maybe 1 or 2 more with the slipstream. As we watch Fiscal, up the inside goes the Dutchman. He takes the Brazilian. Looks over his shoulder, says, thank you very much. I'm in 4th place. I'm now 1 step off the podium. Nice move into the final corner by the Perilla-powered TKART driver. Caio Collet in the green helmet has to concede. Let's see if the Brazilian can respond. 5 laps to go in this championship decider. So they smash over the ripple strip. We go back to the leader. His gap is 3.1 seconds. as the skies ominously start to get just that little bit darker here in Kristianstad. Let's look at the replay. Into the final corner, the Dutchman, look at the inside rear wheel skip off the ground. Massive grip in that TKART, which is all hooked up onto the start-finish straight. KFJ, the Brazilian, he was fourth, he's now running fifth. Bent Fiscal is now one step off the podium. This is your race leader for Ward Racing from Sweden, here in Sweden. Kristian Lundgaard, the 208 TKART, the bright orange helmet, the softly spoken Dane from just down the road, just over the border. Copenhagen, Denmark, where most teams and drivers flew into before crossing that bridge and tunnel that goes under the water, separating the two countries of Denmark and Sweden, where, dare I say it, the toll is €52 one way for one car. But it'll be money well spent for the Dane, who's done that journey many times. It's almost a home circuit, despite not being in his home country. It's where his team Ward Racing are based. The gap has spread out. We're coming up to 3 laps to go. Lundgaard still putting in the big ones. 53-1 that time round. Head down behind the steering wheel on the start-finish straight. There's the virtual championship. Presley Martono just flashes by at the right of your screen. He's now in second. Roosens is falling back all the time. He's third in the championship. Clement Novalak, he's stuck down in position 14. The reigning WSK Supermaster Series, he kicked off 2015 in fantastic fashion, but he is 13 spots off the lead. Let's have a look at the gap for the TKART driver from Great Britain, I should say. He's 15 seconds behind the race leader. And he's 1 second behind Sebastian Fernandez. That's just to make it into position 13. He's one ahead of the German Max Hess. Semi Taufuk, he's 16th ahead of Petre Pacic and the Frenchman Jean-Baptiste Minouer. On the start-finish line one more time. There goes Felipe Drugovich. This is Marta Garcia on screen. She's looking at another podium in the European Championships, whether it's the CIK-FIA Academy Trophy, whether it is KF Junior. She has been a revelation thus far in 2015 with 2 laps to go in this, the championship decider. Can she overhaul Roosens to take third in the championship? Not unless she can get past the driver in front of her, Felipe Drugovich, the Cosmic Kart driver from Maringa, I should say, in Brazil, sits in second. He is 3.3 seconds behind Kristian Lundgaard, who has not backed off. They come across the line to take the last lap board. The gap last time was 3.3 seconds. Lundgaard flashes by. There's Drugovich. There's Garcia. Bent Fiscal brilliant up into position number 4 ahead of KFJ. Xavier Oliveras. Presley Martono has made it into 7th. That will secure him 2nd in the championship at least, as Kristian Lundgaard smashes over the ripple strips for the final time, down into the hairpin for this, the last lap. He's looking not only at a series round win, but the championship win itself. The driver from nearby Denmark, driving for the team from Sweden, Ward Racing. He's just got 4 corners to go. Brakes hard into the left-hander, lets that TKART drift. This is the final corner. Kristian Lundgaard will take the checkered flag. He wins here in Kristianstad. He is the European champion for 2015. He's absolutely delighted, as well he should be. Felipe Drugovich across the line in second.